Hello and welcome everyone um, to our May monthly QA. We've been trying to get Twitch to work, but apparently it still doesn't want to work. So I think similarly to last time, we're going to have to stick to YouTube. Let us know if there are any issues, but I think we should be good to go when it comes to settings. Hopefully neither Jay nor I is too loud or too quiet. Um, and so yeah,
I just see my video has a delay, so it's better than freezing, not like last time.
yeah. I mean, it was pensive, it was a good pose to be frozen on. But yeah, let's avoid any freezing. I think volume should be okay. Let us know if there are any issues. But otherwise, honestly, we're gonna dive pretty quickly into things. Um, Sorry, I had something in Jay's background and it veered me off course. Yeah, there weren't really any questions, so I think we're basically just going to go over some of what we've kind of looked at and been doing, and Jay's going to be showcasing some of the changes that that we'll be putting in place soon, and perhaps more stuff to come with the UI and UX changes that we're hoping to implement over the next couple of months. And yes, Salvatore, yes. That is exactly what it, what it was. Yeah, perhaps the first thing I'm going to start with, actually, if that's okay with you, Jay, is just the survey. First of all, I want to thank everyone for participating in the survey. We had about 50 responses, and that was very helpful to us to just kind of get an insight into how you use characters. Characters is the first thing that we're going to be reworking, so it's the first thing that we're asking you about. Then we'll eventually make our way through different entities, and make our way through the app. But it was what we wanted to start with because it is the entity that has the most entries and is therefore the most used. So we felt like it would be where there would be the most impact. Also, there was some very interesting stuff in there. I'm not going to go over all of it because we have several pages of notes to go with all your comments and all your inputs. But yeah, it's just I think we'll be diving more into these as Jay showcases certain things that we've been working on, and at that point I can come in and perhaps um, add why that is pertinent to the feedback that you guys gave us, and so hopefully we fill in some blanks there. But I think what comes out as a general thread here is that sometimes Kanka is a bit too complex. Um, there seems to be this sort of underlying thread that the functionalities are not always clear as to where they are or why they're where they are, and sometimes there can be multiple ways of doing things, and it's not always clear why or which is best. So, I mean, I guess that kind of goes along with what we're trying to do, just to simplify it and make it more accessible to everyone. Um, and so, yeah, there are a couple other things that that came up and that can be answered pretty easily. I know that there were a couple questions about custom CSS and how custom CSS can be a bit scary for new users and people who aren't comfortable with code. And I know personally that my CSS skills are pretty dire. I can do it if I have to, but I'm not comfortable with it. And I think that's one of the answers to that is that's why we put in place the marketplace. The marketplace is really to enable people like me who don't have those CSS skills to benefit from those, like Guardian, like Salvatos, who do. And who are able to just create themes willy nilly and who enjoy doing it. So I think that's the only thing that I kind of wanted to trip on right now, because I didn't understand why that wasn't clear. And actually, if anyone has feedback about why that wasn't clear, like why it's not clear that the marketplace is where you would get themes if you're a newbie, I would love to hear your feedback on that. Drop us a comment or just write in the chat during the stream. But other than that, I don't know if Jay has any immediate comments about some of the feedback we received. But if not, I suggest we move on pretty quickly to some showcasing, and then I'll give my 2 cents as we move forwards and as things move along. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Cool. in that case, let me. Oh, and just to answer Jacob, I don't think Caroline Pulse is here. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's here.
Is Onslin here? Because he also wanted to join. We
I,
could
th-
ping
I,
everybody.
I think the usual suspects who are supposed to make it didn't make it, but it's okay. We still love him. Right, Jay. I'm going to move to the view of your screen, and I will let you take us forwards with this.
Yep.
Boom. We're done. Show
So
us moon stuff.
yes. So we recently released 1.9, which had from the last community event, people wanted options to put reminders on moon phases. And so that was implemented. I just wanted to show it quickly for those who haven't been following along, and talk about some of the limitations of implementing this feature. So if I go on my Kanka campaign and I find a calendar. So the first thing we did before that was rework the buttons, which would activate only on hover, and you could have the buttons set this day as today, add a weather effect, or add an event, and it's just icons and not really clear what they do. So now we have a drop down with a icon and text. Sorry? I haven't seen him.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Jay gets interrupted by real life.
Yeah, I know too many people in this place by now. So yeah, we've redone this action, so it's a lot clearer what you're doing in the calendar. And so if I add now a reminder, I have recurring option. We've changed the interface. It's no longer a checkbox, which activates more options. It's a drop down. We also have monthly, yearly, and now we can have events which reappear on or reoccur on a full moon or new moon. And it does this now on every full moon or new moon, and this was way more complicated than I imagined to implement. And I know people would like to be able to say every first new moon of the month of May, but that is sadly a level of complexity which I cannot crack. So at the moment, it's limited on the options are all full moons, all new moons, and you can't also say 2 days before full moon. But it's a start, and hopefully someone smarter than me can see how it's done in the code source and figure out how to add more options in the future. At least that's the hope. And if you don't know where to find the code source, it's on GitHub, github.com/elestis/miscellany. You can also find it in the API docs, which if you scroll down to any page and go on API. And then from here, there's this GitHub icon, which you can click, which brings you to the code source. So that was, oh yeah, and the last thing we added with this update to reminders was the visibility dropdown. So if I add a reminder, you can now also add visibility to say who can see this reminder. It's no longer just based on the entity which is being linked. So admin will only show it to members of the campaign's admin role. Members will only show it to people who actually member the campaign, typically for public campaigns. If you want to hide information from the public view, but only show it to actual members. Self only shows it to you, and self and admin shows it to you and admins of the campaign. That's it basically for new features for the calendar, and you can find this all on our blog, blog.kanka.io. Every release, I write a lot of text explaining what new features do. Another one which was done to simplify various interfaces is if I want to bulk apply an attribute template, anywhere this interface exists, it now is one single drop-down option instead of multiple, so you can see the campaign templates and the Kanka 5e monster templates, or if your campaign has templates from the marketplace, they will also show in this list. So again, simplification of showing the information, because having two drop downs, which were both required, made it a bit confusing. Has there been? I've been hearing Discord go crazy in the background. Has there been any?
No, don't worry.
questions
I'm
which I
taking
should
care of
answer?
it. As much as I don't have all that much to contribute this time around, I'm taking care of Discord. So you can ignore that and just focus on
Okay.
showing us some cool stuff.
Yeah. And another big feature which was added with this update was ability to upload WebP file images to entities and the gallery for super boosted campaigns. So if I create a new character, WebP is now an option. And this feature was actually added by NeoRack. Jon, do you
Oh
want
yeah,
to
sorry, I
mention
forgot to mention. I
who-
was going to mention this at the end. I guess Jay's now
It's a nice segue.
taken over. We have an intern. So we have an intern that started for us last Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Who's going to
this
be with
Monday.
us? Yeah, who's going to be with us for the next 2 months, and he's going to be helping out Jay with various tickets and various implementations. And as I say, he'll be with us for 2 months until I think about the 9th of July, somewhere around there. We'll be giving him the full Discord permissions shortly. He'll be added to the team, but we wanted to wait until we were able to officially announce it here. So when you do see him online in the next few days, just give him a warm welcome. He's a baby. He's very young, but he's a hard worker, and he's already helped out a fair amount, as Jay is about to point out. So Jay, take over. Show us what NeoRack has done.
So he's added the WebP format everywhere. And also added the pronouns field for characters, which we've added with 1.9. And yeah, he managed to figure out how to add this thing, had these fields and the filters way faster than anticipated. So very excited to see what more other tickets he will work on and what features he will add to the app. Yeah, that's it. Like 2 tickets in his first week is more than what I anticipated. So very happy with that. And yeah, otherwise, if we go back to 1.9, the last thing I wanted to show is you now have, if you're using filters on the list, for example, I want to show all dead characters with the race human, which I think is by the options that I have. I now have this copy filters to clipboard button, which when I press, it will copy the active filters to my clipboard. And I can use this when setting a quick link by creating a quick link to a entity list. In this filters field, I can now paste it instead of trying to figure out how to find this information, which part of the URL to copy. So we just made it a bit more user-friendly, especially on mobile, where copying an URL can be a bit of a nightmare.
I think that
Otherwise, that's it. Basically, as big updates for 1.9.
Now we're going to get to the exciting stuff.
Yeah, if there aren't any questions related to 1.9, we can show once we've already teased and showed a bit in the last Q&A, the new character designs. And that's why we had the surveys to kind of figure out how are people using characters in their campaigns. So no questions. I'll just show what has been the tweaks we've done since then, the design choices we've made. So let's just jump into it.
Let's do it. I'm excited
So-
to see this. I actually haven't seen everything that Jay's about to show me, so well, show us all. So I'm just as excited as everyone here.
So this is the new page for like a character view, where you would have the new header, and this we have for boosted campaigns. If you upload a background image on entities, you would have this kind of similar interface like header. And we're now going to do it by default for all entities, but the background image is limited to boosted campaigns. So where you'll have the name and some of the options of like instead of having an actions menu, you can just click here and have all your various things you can do to this entity. And the tags, which people use tags and just make this information more easily accessible and visible. And like for characters, we've went with showing up here the location, the current location of a character. And if this location is part of a sublocation or parent location, then show it. So just make it like a clean header. And the default page will show still pins, but we've now moved anything which is pinned and links, like entity links, to the right side of the interface. Because while this information is important for entities, we're keeping the left side for the various menus. And we'll show the description field, or the entry field as it's named now, with a edit button and a visibility option. And basically pinned notes, as we mentioned, entity notes won't have the pinned option anymore. They will always be pinned on this interface in the future. So in one place, you see all the text related stuff in an entity. And if you want to add a new entity note, it's just a post where we're changing a bit the names of things to make it more clear. Because it's no longer where do I put information? You have to go in the tab entity notes and add a new one. It's just new post. And then some action buttons to quickly expand or collapse all of the visible information. And later on, we'll be adding more features. For example, we're still figuring this out, like kind of information shown that you can just filter what's being displayed here. And probably the most important thing for everyone will have an interface to kind of drag and drop entity notes or posts to reorder them manually instead of using a position field.
That's pretty sexy.
For the menu itself, the big changes is we'll have on all entities, the text will be basically the story. We'll have connections, which will show both relations and any linked elements. So if, for example, this character is the author of a journal, it will now be in connections. If it's mentioned in an entity, it will be in connections. Any system which links an entity to another will be in this new unified interface, which we're still working on how to best represent its information. But instead of having 20 submenus for every item, organization, journal, whatever, it will just be in one single interface and clearly marked what it is instead of having so many different options. Profile is also, because you've probably seen on this interface, we're missing the type, the race, family. So we have a new profile page which has all the custom like title, the various fields, the visibility traits and the character traits, where they will all be here. Kind of, because this information, as important as it is, you don't, when you're running your game, you probably want the story to be the focus, and this is less important, so we're putting it in a sub page.
Yeah, the helpline is another place to live.
Then things become more known, like abilities, inventory, attributes. Attributes is no longer a tab, so it will load in a separate page, which also means if your marketplace attribute templates break Kanka, it won't break the whole entity, but break only a subpage for it.
That's away from the floor.
And probably what I enjoy the most is assets, which is where you can upload your files and also your entity links. and entity links will then become a clearer feature instead of being an action. Previously, it was in here where you could define. Let me take an example. I go.
Yeah, maybe check if she replied the message.
Wrong example. Go on a character.
What?
If in the actions we had
That's okay.
manage links, which would only be visible for boosted campaigns, which just isn't really clear. So now it will always be visible under this new assets page. And if you are non-boosted, when you click on the new link button, it will just give you text. External links are limited to boosted campaigns. So also for new users will know this feature exists. That is a boosted campaign feature.
Let's do something. Can you please give me your mom's phone number?
And I think that's basically it. So it hasn't changed much compared to last time we showed. We just redefined some of the interfaces.
It's becoming more
moved
elaborate.
around some of the info.
Trust.
It's taking shape, I think, from the first drafts we showed last time around.
Okay. Maybe it's better.
Yeah, so a couple of troll questions in the Discord. Ornstein, how can we do things like banning one for creating characters named Drist Do Urden? Probably with custom CSS. And otherwise, keep on scrolling. Sad that he can't crash Kanka anymore with market-based attributes.
I'm sure I'll find another way.
You guys always find a way to break what I work on.
But yeah, this is I think it's quite a big change that we're looking to implement, and so we already showed you 1 month ago like the first sort of draft of this sort of revamped UI, and it is a slow moving process. We really want to do things right. We want to take our time. Want to make sure that we dot the I's and cross the T's, and so. I don't know that we can give you a date yet still. There will be a next step to this process, which should hopefully start next week or so, which will involve interviewing certain of our users to try and figure out how they use the characters page, what information is most important to them, and just spending a bit of time on Discord with them so they can show us what they do and how they do it. And I think at that point in time, we will be... Once that's done, we'll probably be in a better position to make some sort of final decisions, and kind of, push this to live. But I would hesitate to give any kind of time scale. I don't know if you're comfortable giving a time scale, Jay, but
no, I am tempted to, depending on how the interview goes and the interviews go. To skip the community vote we haven't talked about this, but for June, and just focus June on these new changes, because I've started working on these at the back end.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of changes which break a lot of things, and I don't want to push some changes because it's all a big package. So if we start pushing some changes but not others, new interfaces won't make much sense.
Yes, of
there'll
course.
be stuff will be a bit everywhere, like. It's a lot of work, and I think June will be just building those features of this new design and the new features and making everything nice.
Hi, babe.
Sounds good.
To the tent tonight. How is it?
I think, yeah.
Great.
I mean, things tend to die down a bit in the summer, so hopefully, I mean, without giving any dates, if we do end up focusing on this in June, especially with our intern giving us a bit of a hand at kind of helping Jay, helping reduce Jay's workload and focus on the very important, revamp of the UI, then yeah, we'll see. We've given dates before in the past and we've been burned, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I think the one thing we can say fairly for sure is in the next week or two, you might see us ask for any volunteers to spend half an hour on Discord with. Actually, Jay won't be part of the process so that everyone can be as honest as they want without feeling like they're hurting his feelings. And there will of course be no feedback from me to him about this, but you will be spending a sort of between half an hour and 45 minutes with me and our UX expert. At which point, once those are done, we'll probably have a clearer view of a timeline that we can give. But yeah, expect in the next week or so us to reach out and to see who's interested in spending a bit of time with us. I think that's the only thing we can say for sure at this point.
Yeah.
We can't organize stuff.
And yeah,
Don't worry. I'll
let's do our best to reach something good and stable. Like, thankfully, we have an amazing Q&A team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do. We're not really. So the comment is don't be cyberpunk, and yeah, we don't want to rush this. It will be probably the biggest change that has been made to Kanka since ever, really. Well, not ever, but like for a long time. There have been a few like changes and new features, but this will be a sort of a deep down, full change of Kanka, and we don't want to do this too quickly. We want to take our time, make sure it's done right.
That could be.
It's
This
a
is
very
the first
good
really big update to some of the core features
exactly,
in the way Kanka works.
exactly, and it won't be the last because hopefully this will just be kind of a first step that kind of sets us up for more changes over the course of the summer. But yeah, we will be taking our time and making sure that everything is done. It'll probably spend an unusual amount of time in QA. It's also not impossible that this first goes to something we haven't actually used in a while, which was that our owlbears, well, our subscribers in general, get early access to a feature. So it's possible that we use an early access for this in order to get a bit more feedback initially, make sure that everything that's broken can be solved before we roll this out to the general public, and allow our subscribers to get a bit of more of a sneak peek. We'll see the exact modalities, but yeah, we will be taking our time. I think we already have been taking our time, and that's not going to change.
Jacob asked an interesting question.
Yeah, very good question.
If this character update comes, how will it affect all other entities? Will characters be the guinea pig and the rest follows? So we'll be doing some of the changes. I think will be pushed to all entities at the same time, like some of the new submenus, pushing them like attributes, pushing it out of the main view and pushing it in the subview, assets, because those are things which are generic for all entities. So it's built in one place, but then the story page and the profile page is specific to characters.
Great. I'll give you 5
and the
minutes,
headers. So that's something which will be to those first. But a lot of the things can be done. I can apply to many of the entities at the same time. It'll be just figuring out what makes sense, like the new connections page will probably be a progressive update to all entity types, and we'll start with characters to add that information rather than try and pushing it all at the same time.
Yeah, as much as we can, but as little as we need to, I think is very Swiss way of putting things. We don't want it to be too disparate between views and between entities, but we also know that if we redo everything and then push everything in one go, no changes will be implemented for such a long time that I think it wouldn't make sense also, because we wouldn't be able to get the feedback as we progress to sort of fine tune and make sure that the next modules are just that much bit better and don't have to go through quite as much fine tuning. But I think, as Jay say, anything that's reusable to other entities will be implemented from day one. Of course, there are certain entities or certain entities where nothing will be reusable or very little, in which case you won't see many changes. Not initially, at least. Which brings us actually... Yeah, it's a very good question. So how badly will it break the marketplace themes? Salvatore's actually asked this last month when it came to our first showcase of this. And our answer then, I think, is also our answer now, in the sense that we will be giving time and giving warning for the changes before we sort of implement anything hard and fast. The point isn't to break everything and to make sure that everyone's lost. The sad truth is there will be some cost to pay when it comes to the themes. Not everything will be reimportable. I expect certain things to be able easily to sort of be brought over, but others will probably have to be reworked somewhat. I don't know. Sorry, Jay, I cut you up. Cut you there.
Sorry. Kind of show what I've been working on. So wait for this to load. So like the menus, we're still using the same themes of Kanka. So anything impacting like the boxes will still be applied. The whole entity header will probably break because we're suddenly adding different actions. We're adding these buttons. This is still very much a work in progress. But we're kind of reworking those. So the menus are now split into several sections instead of being one giant menu. So there are changes, but like entity notes, except the buttons changed a little bit, but otherwise the design stays mostly the same and using the same classes. So it shouldn't break too much. The biggest change will probably be the entity headers, and if you have stuff impacting the menus of entities, and pins, because pins are no longer up here above the menu, but on the right side. But they still use the same classes. So if you have something targeting, I go and inspect this element, it's still called pinned relation in a list item. So it's still all fairly similar. And Jacob also asked if notes will be removed or what happened to existing ones. So they're still here. They're just no longer in a tab by default. They just always display on the entity story view. And yeah. So they're still here. And also here we're so reworking a bit of the interfaces. One thing I've been working on is to remove the delete button directly from here and kind of push it more into the forms. So we now have a remove button down here with a confirmation pop-up to make it a bit easier to clearer what this is doing instead of having a big red button in the middle of the interface. Just to make the interface easier to use. And the same with the new assets page, which might work surprising. If I go and edit a link, I have the same option here to remove with a removal confirmation. I'm trying to move more towards this with clearer text. What does removing something do? Is it permanent or is it like it deletes it, but you can recover it? It's an entity with a boosted campaign. It's just the whole package.
Yeah, it's a lot of changes, which is why, once again, we will be taking our time with this. There won't be any rushing, and that's why we don't really have a set date, and why we're really taking this slow. Yeah. It's always a bit scary, when we're talking about such big changes, because on the one hand, we hope that they are definitely changes that will, impact Kanka for the better. But there's always going to be some unforeseen issues, and there's always going to be some things that break, and some people who aren't happy with the changes. That's sadly inevitable. So it's just about finding that balance between pleasing as many people as possible while helping Kanka move forward in a positive way. So yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Jay, about this, actually.
No, that was it.
Nice.
I feel like a lot of the stuff I said was a repeat from last month. But yeah, it's a slow progress. We're trying to do this well, incorporate the feedback from the surveys, and the next step is the interviews with some of you, and make sure this update really makes Kanka easier to use for existing and new users, makes features clearer.
Yeah, I
Because
think.
we
No, go
one
ahead.
of the focus is to hide less features, because a lot of features are kind of hidden in various menus, in boosted campaign status or super boosted, and try and make everything clearer, what is included in what status and what you can do and what you can't do on a character.
Yeah, I think a
was
lot of the same questions get asked a lot, and it's going to, we're just hoping to be able to sort of remove an element of uncertainty, or just like make it easier, because if something gets asked more than like 5-10 times, we tend to just add it to the FAQ, and just kind of pray that the problem goes away. But this is probably just addressing things in a much deeper way, where features will be a lot more clear cut. Just the way things are, the way the information is displayed should make it easier and less having to scroll through 15 different menus. And hopefully for a lot of new users who can kind of be overwhelmed by the amount of features, the amount of tabs, the amount of everything, it can, and it will hopefully help. Like, not just the characters, but I just mean the rework in general. And just make it clearer what happens when you click something, or when you don't click something, I think. We have 2 more questions there. Will it be possible to tag other characters, entities in and be notified of this?
So no, in this case is like if one assigned players mentions another player's character in a note or entity. No, because we don't have a concept of assigning a character to a player. So there is no such feature, and it's not planned at the moment to be able to like assign characters, get notifications when the character you've been assigned to as a player is mentioned somewhere else.
It would be interesting, but yeah, no. Currently, it's just campaigns aren't even assigned to their creators. The campaigns are fully editable by any admin, and anyone who has certain roles. But by and large, admins have all the roles, so there's really not much of a concept of ownership in Kanka so far.
Yeah. But as with everything, if a feature request is done through Discord and gets lots of upvotes from the community, it will eventually be added to community votes. And if subscribers think that's a good idea, it will be implemented.
Another question we're getting from Beef Potato is something that you've been talking about a lot over time. Well, pretty much ever since I started working with you, but merging families into organizations, and whether that's still part of the plan. I don't know if you and I have the same answer when it comes to this, but
it's
and
been
there's
put
also
on the back burner.
Sorry, it's on the back burner. Yeah, and I think by and large it'll be something that kind of comes up when we move on to sort of other deeper reworks. When we start reworking organizations and families, that'll definitely be part of the questions we ask. Is it something that our users want to have merged, or do they prefer that separation still? And based on feedback, we'll probably make that decision at that point. Another question we're getting is, Jay mentioned planning to redo the races module. Any sneak peeks on the plans for that? What was that?
No, we don't plan to read. We plan to rename it into some less loaded term. But we still haven't figured out the best options to put up for votes. But at least in the English version of Kanka.
Yeah.
Am I cut off? Or okay.
No, sorry. I was getting weird noises in my headset, and I was wondering where they were from.
Is the music louder? And is music
no, I
in the
think it was on
background?
my end, but I'm not entirely sure what it was. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I think everyone heard it as well, so fun times. Anyway.
Are you listening to the Kanka calendar chaos theme I posted in the general channel the other day?
That's 100% what I'm doing.
The Kanka Boomerang remix from Ornstein.
No, I think I think a YouTube video I was watching earlier, I may have pressed play without like meaning to. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Anyway, so yeah, races. We'll see. We're gonna rename it as Jay
But
said, but I don't know
when
that
we
there's
do
going to. Yeah, go for it.
sorry,
You speak.
one feature we plan to implement when we rename the races module is also be able to assign multiple races to a character. Because at the moment it's just a single field, so it will work more like tags, where you can have a character can be part of multiple races or whatever is the term we end up using.
Yeah, that was actually something that came up in the survey. There were some requests to be able to assign multiple races to individuals for specifically multiracial individuals or whatnot. So that is something that we definitely we heard, and so I think that's something we'll be looking to implement when the time comes and when races are redone. So yeah, I guess you can look forward to that. But I don't know if there'll be like a deep dive or a deep change into the way that races work right now, other than renaming it to something that's perhaps more in line with current trends and allowing for multiple uses for a character. I'm glad you're happy about that change. Keep on scrolling. But once again, I can't give you a date for it. Like it's not something that's gonna like we don't have a yet
right
set
now is
plan.
on the new characters.
Yeah, it's something that we have in mind and something that we got in our feedback that we are looking to put in place when we do get around to it. But it's not something that like is happening tomorrow, kind of thing. I can see that a bunch of people are typing on Discord, so let's give them a second.
Merge races with organizations.
Yeah.
Just merge everything with tags. Why do you bother with any other module? Just use tags for everything.
Any specific plans for the organization / family reworks, such as family tree or org maps?
No, it's in the backlog, but it's not something I know to do. So it will be probably like the Relation Explorer, someone from the community, wink, Guardian, wink, finds a tool which does it, build something cool, and then we integrate that into the app. But family trees would require a lot of work. So yeah, but maybe one day, but yeah, maybe is the best answer I can give.
There was already some feedback we got about relations and how they work and how they could be improved. So I think if there are changes, relations will probably be the first place where we make changes, and any sort of family trees would come after that. I think we prefer to improve on what's there rather than keep pumping out features that need to be perfected further. So yeah, I don't know if there are any final questions. Well, if there are any more questions or anything else you're all curious about. But I think otherwise we're slowly but surely running out of things to say here. It's pretty rare.
Yeah, managed 45 minutes.
It's pretty good.
Without
Actually,
technical difficulties.
That's true. Apart from the fact that Twitch still doesn't work, so I guess we'll have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
It's funny actually because when we got to about 25, 26 minutes in, I was starting to worry slightly because we were already slowly but surely running out of things to say. I was like, well, it's a bit short, 25 minutes for our monthly QA. But thank you to everyone who asked questions. You allowed us to keep talking for another 20 minutes or so. But yeah. Waldo asked if there are any more achievements planned. Since players know about them, they kind of got obsessed about them and have to do a weekly progress report. Yes. Go for it.
If the community submits idea for the achievements page, that's how more achievements get added. Basically, I built that feature and tweaked it with user feedback or community feedback. And if you want more achievements in there, just ask. And as long as it's not too complex, it doesn't crash the servers to calculate it, like how many characters died in the last week. It will probably be added, or how many events recurring on moons in the next 5 weeks. If it's something easy to calculate, it will probably be added.
And Keep on Scrolling was also asking if all entities can be marked as dead.
If you're using tags, yes.
Yes, but I think we had decided to implement a default for characters as well. Or am I misremembering our conversations?
Characters have always had the dead field. But we are thinking of adding a few more options, like presumed dead. So it's no longer just a binary alive dead, but adding a few more options.
That's what I'm
to keep your players on their toes.
Yeah, how many characters have been created, existed, and then deleted? Yeah. Maybe we should be able to archive things. Keep for a later date. But yeah, I see Beef Potatoes typing. We're going to give a few more minutes for further questions. While I mean, I guess for achievements, like we can probably come up with a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Presumed Dead's pretty cool.
Presumed Dead. Yeah, Schrodinger's cat. Perfect.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
I would like to point out, by the way, for everyone
Nice.
who's watching, that like you can type on YouTube. we both have Discord tabs open, but we also have YouTube like in our front page thing. I'm gonna let Jay take.
Yeah, I'm just going to ignore that.
Yeah, I was just, I was like, I'm just gonna let Jay take it.
Nope. Big potato, bad potato.
For those who will be rewatching the video and don't have the Discord chat, just troll in. I think is the best way we can describe what's going on.
Yeah, community is doing what they just want to earn some coins, some of our new Kanka coins coming out later.
All right, keep on scrolling. That's
Or those that won't make sense.
that's pretty hardcore commitment there. Anyway, that's true.
Yeah, true. To comment on YouTube, you have to have an account, which is kind of annoying.
I think the only reason I say that is just for rewatchability, so that anyone who rewatches afterwards can see the questions and see the reactions in real time.
It's why we read them out loud.
Sorry?
Yeah. It's why we read the questions out loud.
Yes, of course, but it's never quite the same. So yeah, let's see what other crazy questions come up. Oh yes, and of course, that's a very good point, Waldy. Karen Ampos, our favourite, never been here. It was a nice attempt. I think we messaged him 2 hours before, 1 hour before, 10 minutes before, just as we were starting, and even a few minutes after we'd started, just disappeared.
He made it once. I think last year, towards the end of the year, there was one live stream where he was here. But anyway, let's go back to some serious business. A community vote described this encounter with a picture of me freezing my ass off a volcano is ending this evening, and we'll have a new event go live tomorrow at some point.
Yeah.
Which have we decided on which theme?
We have decided on which theme. I mean, you told me which theme.
I was trying to segue into you being able to talk about it.
But I've forgotten now. Cursed items.
Cursed items.
That's the one. So, all
So
right,
not
Jay.
system specific, but more role play oriented. Looking forward to some fun, silly, and scary cursed items to give your players when they annoy you too much with spending a whole day, a whole session just shopping Hopefully, we had lots of creative ideas for stuff you can sell your players to not to punish them, but to show them that there are
There are
other
consequences.
options. Yeah.
But actually, just before we do end up speaking about cursed items, well, it's too late now because we've already spoken about cursed items. But for those of you who haven't participated in the current event, I encourage you to. You've got a few more hours, and it doesn't even have to be a long entry. Just do it. Make fun of Jay. Have a good time. Get those creative juices flowing and do it. And if not, then yes, the new one will be out tomorrow. We'll try
Is
and
my
keep
screen still shared?
your screen is still shared. Actually, I've never gone back to just you and me.
Okay, so I'll just focus, show where to go if you're not sure. If you scroll down on every page under the community footer, there's events. And here you can see an ongoing event described as describe the encounter, where you can submit a link to an entity in one of your public campaigns with a small comment. And winning gives you some, it allows you to vote, be part of the jury deciding the next contest winners. It gives you a special role wordsmith on the Discord. And
it generally just means you're better than other people.
Yeah. Or that you bribed us with coins.
Yes, exactly. We take our coins seriously.
Shout Lampos is finally here.
Yeah, so also our coin address will be linked at the bottom. Welcome, Lampos. You're just in time to say goodbye.
And with that.
Yeah, and on that beautiful note, it has been an absolute pleasure as always. And yeah, I guess we'll have a lot more news for you next month on how things have gone. And as we've already said 3 or 4 times already, expect us to ask a few of you to spend some time with me and our UX designer just to talk about your usage and just to kind of see you use Kanka actually more than anything. So yeah, on that note, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, if you have any further ideas, you always know where to find us. If you have any further feedback, you know where to find us. And I guess we'll catch you pretty shortly on Discord anyway. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everyone.
Take care. See you next time.
Bye.